G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talk Stuff. Men are done. Women, you needed to hear this a long time ago. In fact, men have been telling you for a long time. We're done with your nagging. And it's not getting through. Men feel nagging is pointless. Your persistent complaining, your constant criticism, all you've done is create a high-stress environment. In the past, boomers walked on eggshells and gave you jewelry, fur coats. You created a culture of prostitution that for generations now, more and more men have walked away from. You've undermined everything. Every corporation you've touched. Everything. For what? Your selfish desires. No more. You respect nothing. You chose the bear. Good riddance. We know it's a manipulation tactic when you say we chose the bear. We know nagging is a manipulation tactic to make men submit. We know that your increasing dissatisfaction with life is nothing but your own misery. It is not just taking the toll on the health of men, which is why they left, it's taking a toll on you. Look around. Where are all the beautiful women gone? Where are all the smart, conversational women gone? Where are the mature women gone? Constant nagging has done harm. But you don't listen. You don't want to listen. All you can think about is your blood-soaked utopia. And it is blood-soaked. Soaked with the blood of your slaves that you've worked to death for your own luxury, for your own ill-conceived version of life where you live endless pleasure with sex toys between your legs, chocolate bonbons in your mouth, yipping little dogs running around, lying on the couch while the servants do all the cooking and cleaning. Constant nagging has caused men to feel that there is nothing that we can do to satisfy you. So we're walking away. Just like the moment you pulled out your sex toys, we should have walked away. The moment you asked for a second dress, we should have walked away. The moment you wanted a diamond, we should have walked away. The moment you discouraged for the first time, we should have walked away. Because once you engaged in that perpetual misery known as nagging, you have never stopped. Once you got your way, it was non-stop demands. You got the vote. Then it was, give me more pay. Give me representation. No, you're entitled to representation through the electoral system, not given special privilege to have your own special little voting system that you now want, where you want half the representatives to be women. Political correctness, you're policing language. You shut out and shut down men just because they enjoy naughty pictures of women, while you have half-naked cowboys on the front cover of your sex books. And yes, they are sex books. Most romance novels are saucier and spicier than anything I've written. But you condemn what I wrote, while you have literal rape books going to number one. And then you complain that society doesn't value women. First, in order to be valued, one must be trusted and respected. Nagging gets you neither, nor does your hypocrisy. You've created a cycle of conflict where you feel every mistake has to be pointed out, every criticism exaggerated. And the more you push, the more we walk away. You've created a vicious cycle of frustration where you can constantly complain that you're not listened to, but you have nothing but the sound of your own voice between your ears. That and the buzzing of your vibrator and the meowing of your cats. Yes, when you value your pets more than your partner, they're walking away. Have you ever tried direct communication? Expressing everything cool, calm, collective? Gather your thoughts. Pardon me. Try that again. Direct communication. Where you gather your thoughts. And with clarity. Calm. And express yourself rather than constantly criticizing. How about acceptance? Realizing that he has imperfections. Perhaps you should try some self-examination. How about appreciation? That you ignore the negative for once in your life and appreciate what you have got. See, the underlying issues of nagging is a symptom of deep psychological issues. Often that you felt unheard, undervalued, or perhaps overwhelmed by your feelings. And instead of addressing your own insecurities, you have become the very overbearing mother that you despised. Because it's often the overbearing mother that creates the nagging daughter. And she becomes the overbearing mother or the ungrateful wife. The mindset of a complainer or a nagger is to overpower with constant criticism. And sooner, that's why people stop liking you, stop respecting you. You're like the gossip. You're not welcome anymore. You're warned. Societies have been warned. But individuals who nag tend to do so because they feel the close proximity means the other person is duty bound. It's a captive audience for you to take out your frustrations on. Before I continue, pardon me, I'd like to remind you that this channel is brought to you by no one. It is sponsored by you, the viewing audience. My shop Empire of Elves, one word, empireofelves.myshopify.com for beautiful mugs with beautiful process printed imagery reminiscent of the Empire of Elves. Thank you. Nagging is often an obsessive, compulsive behavior, an undiagnosed, untreated mental condition whereby the nagger is compelled to point out the negative in others because it is often the overbearing mother who pointed out the negatives in her, leaving the nagger having great difficulty in changing her behaviour. Such behaviour is normally treated with positive reinforcement and for not nagging and other cognitive behavioural alteration techniques. Often administered, of course, by a psychologist, not your average YouTube therapist. You really need a lot of psychological help to overcome obsessive compulsive disorders, particularly nagging. Nagging used to be socially considered rude, but women have nagged society to decrease its standards. Nagging is a decrease in moral standards, and women reduced morality to get prostitution, gossiping, lewd behaviour, outrageous behaviour publicly acceptable through nagging. And that's why we have frequent nagging in society today. Relationship dissatisfaction is at an all-time high caused by frequent nagging. It's 53% of respondents recently in Psychology Today survey said nagging was the number one issue plaguing their relationship. Often people have cited that women will break up over money, men who go out for cigarettes and don't come back. It's typically because she's a nagger. Although lewd behaviour and gossiping often go hand in hand with nagging, women who get more and more outrageous, louder, obnoxious, tend to start as a nagger. Few relationships survive nagging. Most personality types are frustrated by the nagger. The nagger is often triggered. There are many terms for the nagger. The scold is another one. You know, the person who has to frequently complain, call the manager. Find faults with anyone but themselves. When a person complains with regularity, nagging takes over. The complaints become a habit, then a lifestyle. We've seen this with the acceptance of the critical critic. So it doesn't just happen in women, it happens in men. But back in the day, critics used to gather huge followings when they would scathe movies, even when they were publicly loved. People used to find scathing reviews both scandalous and amusing. But today, such blogs and newspapers are not. People have woken up that critics, i.e. those who set out to find fault, are not helping the audience or helping the art form grow or helping the artist grow, but just tearing others down to feel good about themselves. When a nagger takes on their romantic partner, parent, or child, or worse, those who want to tear down their boss, it becomes toxic. When you prey upon those close to you, you are toxic. I'm not talking about the people who have legitimate complaints, who thoughtfully, meaningfully can point out real problems. And I'm sick of hearing about how feminism has a long way to go. It's going to take 130 years to dismantle the patriarchy. That's paranoid delusional talk, okay? You're just giving yourself license to nag, to constantly protest, to constantly engage in doom and gloom. Now, nagging is a personality disorder, though not specifically defined in diagnostic manuals for mental disorders. The American Psychiatric Association, however, does see nagging having overlaps in passive-aggressive personality disorder. This is a disorder that has existed for quite some time. It is previously defined as a negative personality which routinely engages in negative behaviors such as constant criticism, also known as creating drama. Often it starts with childhood frustrations. However, nagging can also be found in obsessive people. That they get a fix and have a fixation with nagging. So they nag because it gives them joy and it gives them a little dopamine fix, and thus they engage in a cycle that becomes obsessive compulsive, where they get stuck and fixated about tearing others down or constant criticism. Prime example of this is the wife complaining about the toilet seat. You spend more time complaining about the toilet seat, putting more time and energy in the toilet seat than, oh, it's up, I put it down, I move on. No, they can't move on. So, obsessive disorder and passive-aggressive. Passive-aggressive, that's a good one, isn't it? It's often a very poorly defined behavior. However, it just merely means you're indirect. Okay? You take out your anger and frustration or resentment on others. Instead of through direct communication, you engage in inaction. You basically ignore them or won't do what you're told. You respond sarcastically. You procrastinate. You sabotage them. Often trying to look for plausible deniability, leaving people feeling frustrated and manipulated. Often the most common behavior of passive-aggressive is gossip. Nagging, tearing others down, basically. Gossip and nagging, just tearing others down, creating drama. Common signs of silent treatment. Insults disguised as praise, like, I'm so impressed you managed to finish that sentence. Or, I'm impressed you know the meaning of that word. Or, wow, you could use big words. Did your mother teach you that? Deliberate inefficiency. I'm just a girl. Procrastination. Women around the water cooler. Sarcasm. Yeah. Like, oh, really? Well, I wouldn't have known that if you hadn't told me. But why do they do it? Because they get back at you. They do not respect you. Right? Women do not respect men, and this is why they engage in prostitutive behavior. That instead of rewarding the relationship, the warmth and comfort they get from the relationship, and of course fulfill their own sexual desires freely, they engage in subversive behavior, wealth transfer. Often, most prostitutes are either passive aggressive or obsessive compulsive. Naggers, prostitutes, gossips, they all share common personality types. That's why they often end up being one and the same. The more destructive their behaviour comes, the more negative their behaviours they engage in, they often blur the line. People who nag often have anxiety disorders, untreated resentment. And I do mean it when I say untreated. Well, most childhood trauma is overwhelming in young adults. And it's not until you get to old age when you have burnt out, but you can burn it out sooner. There are many positive behaviours you can engage in to save yourself now. Men have been telling you for years, shut up and make me a sandwich. Yeah, stop nagging, do something productive. Now, the motivations, there is a misconception around nagging. A lot of people think it's an art. They enjoy it. They engage in mutual slinging matches. You see this political forums, not just in relationships. Parents often felt the need to express and curse each other out behind each other's back. Worrying about the small things because they could do nothing about the big. So you can't tell your boss he's an arsehole and you feel he's underpaying you? Well, that's the entire world. Okay? India has got its thumb on its economy, keeping its wages down so it can compete. More and more people lose their job, more and more frustrations. Everything becomes a cycle of negativity. Okay. But that's the big stuff. What about the small stuff? Where does it start? It's often a mood disorder. A simple mood disorder. Right? Dysfunctional. Right? Naggers at their root are dysfunctional. They are unable to sit comfortably with a negative feeling and let it go. Whether it's anxious, fear, depression, frustration. Naggers can't tolerate negative feelings and they can't deal with negative feelings. Women who are frustrated, they often, and this is a weird one, and I'm not saying all women do this, but a large number of women, they can't open a jar. Right? Couldn't reach something on the top shelf. The negativity builds up. Instead of just letting it go in a big sigh or a big huff, or the good old men screaming at the video game screen, guilty, what happens? They go to the bath, they go have a hot shower, and they masturbate. And unfortunately, that or they'll just have a hot bath and masturbate, or have have a couple of wines, then masturbate. I mean, drinking wine, although whining online too. But that masturbation or that, trying to counter bad negative feelings with positivity, right, becomes a toxic negative positive feedback loop where now you engage in nagging because you cannot relax. Yeah, so you're taking out your frustrations and creating negative feedback loops where you now associate nagging with positive pleasures. You've trained yourself to be negative and to clinically enjoy it. Naggers have often found early success in nagging, people giving in to them. They often become what you would call high maintenance. That is, everybody's walking on eggshells around the uncertainty around them. These are the mean girls that you never know when they're going to explode at you because you can't do anything to them back. They are psychotic, so any criticism, they just laugh it off. Unless you are able to laugh it off, they will constantly nag you, demean you. They want to control you. It's a downright plain, simple motive. Power. But, of course, the nagger is actually afraid, and they're living in constant fear, that you will rebel against them. So they have to constantly make you feel depressed and as miserable as they are on the inside. Well, they themselves engage in the feedback loop of laughing every time you struggle against them, which is, unfortunately, nagging is the leading cause of violence, and no one wants to admit that. They go hand in hand. Naggers who, it is an unfortunate thing. Naggers trigger others to get violent feedback. So they feel justified in their negative impressions of that person, or men in general. One way to deal with naggers, of course, is to isolate them. Most men walk away, but now more and more men are just not coming back. If you need to exchange more than a few words in an argument, it's over. It's over. You have lost. So men, instead of engaging in this long talk, knowing that she will not change, are walking away. Romantic partners have been told time and time again just to stop it. But usually by the time they're a romantic partner, and trust me, you're not the first, you're not the last, and it's just your turn. And so men, when they realise this, that a nagger, it's just your turn, that she's that mean girl, and she'll never change, she will not seek help, she will not see the value that you bring, because the only thing she values is what she can take. So even years of intensive couple therapies, and sometimes 2 or 3 years, couples spend in therapy. There was this, I don't know if you heard of it, the 7-year hurdle. I've tried to find out about this. I may talk about it in something else, but it's the decline in happiness. Often peaking around your 7th year in a relationship. Typically represents the shift from honeymoon to mundane and causing partners to reevaluate their relationship. Basically, the 7-year hurdle. If you get over it, you're settled in, and everything's fine. But naggers, they actually build, and that's when they kick in, right? You think it's bad at the start, that's the honeymoon phase. So if they're bad at the start, it's only going to get worse. And for many men, it peaks early. Naggers, right? Now, true. There are three things that you can do. Like I said, you can try to keep the peace. You can try to keep them happy. You can try to keep the peace through maintaining structure and order, or you can try to keep the peace, walking away every time they start nagging. But eventually, if they don't learn that nagging is something they have to deal with and have to get fixed, but the problem is women have a narcissistic reinforcement where they think they're perfect, and this is not reinforced by mummy. We're talking about reinforced by feminists and feminism, that they can't stop nagging because the whole feminist movement is about nagging. The whole liberal political movement is about nagging. The whole way communism spreads is through nagging. The whole way Islam, the whole way communism, fascism, socialism, feminism, Islamism. The reason why they're all the same is because they use social shaming manipulation tactics, aka nagging, where they wear you down with constant, compulsive, repetitive insults. See, I'm not saying Christendom is perfect either, but it is a religion open to reformation and has undergone a reformation and is probably undergone two and probably in the process of a third reformation now, where at least, we can live in relative harmony between the different interpretations of the Bible. If the problem is when the negative outsiders try to reform Christendom to their standards and they tear it apart, Christ was a communist, then why aren't you spreading his teachings? There are some simple answers to nagging. Every time a Muslim tells you about bacon or Christ wasn't really the Son of God, or he didn't die, God swapped him around and stuff like that. Just Google the Islamic dilemma, show it to them, and walk away. It's the same with most relationships. Don't tolerate nagging, however, in any form. Politicians do it all the time. They literally get on a platform and ran down. The latest one being nagging about Walgreens closing, and it's within a mile of another Walgreens. No shop. Right? There should not be more than two shops of the same, 4 miles used to be the average standard. You can't have a shop every mile. This is why so many shops are closing. There's just too many shops. And you've spread the profits thin. You've hired all these people to do what? I have seen it. People in retail, they're bored. They're just sick and tired of the thefts. But instead of dealing with the crime, you're nagging companies to stay open in high crime areas instead of dealing with the crime. So you don't want to take the bus. You don't want to walk that extra 15. You don't want to walk more than 15 minutes. Well, it's the same with climate change, environmentalism, nagging you about the environment. You're wasting resources. You know why because plenty is cheap. When they artificially dole out the resources, that makes everything expensive. If you can't go out and build a cabin on your land, you're overregulated. Okay? Oh, but it's going to have standards. It's got to have this. It's got to have that. Oh, you've got to pay water tax. You've got to pay this tax. I'm not using them. No, you still got to pay these taxes. Yeah. Because all they care about is themselves. Nagging, passive-aggressive behaviour, you tolerate it in a relationship and it spreads through society and drags all of society down. And eventually you have systemic collapse after systemic collapse because no one cares about the institutions. No one cares what the politicians have to say anymore. No neighbour is talking to their neighbour politely anymore. You have dragged everything down to constant criticism, and it does not raise standards. It drags everything down. I'm not saying nagging alone collapsed the Roman Empire. I'm saying nagging brought about every negative circumstance that led to the fall of Rome. Constant wanting more pay. Constantly criticising your neighbours. That constant fear of your neighbours, so you constantly attack them. Even when they were even when the Germans were peaceful, the Romans attacked them. Were they up to something? You know, I'm not saying it's just women alone, just to point it out. But overall, we look at today's society, where does it start? Starts with the mother browbeating the child over every imperfection. It starts with every effeminate trait where nothing is ever good enough. That ring's too small. I said I wanted my steak. Well done. The salad dressing, it's all round. The salad's like red vegetables. It's all swampy. It's yeah. These high maintenance people, I think, until nagging is unacceptable, make nagging unacceptable again. So there you have it. A bad habit that women have needs to be addressed, needs to be dealt with. People who constantly protest are passive-aggressive bullies. Whoops. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Please support the channel. You can support the channel in a number of ways. Start. Slap that like button like it owes you money. Subscribe so you get notifications. I don't nag, I politely inform. And I'm politely informing you that I would like your financial assistance through Ko-Fi, Patreon, buying my books, buying my merch. Two of the most common ways are joining my RPG Patreon for $1 a month, buying my books for around $4 US. So thank you, each and every one of you has supported the channel, but by your continued viewership and growing subscribers, heck, even commenting, all helps. Thank you, and see you in the next video. Bye for now.